Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. Today's Someone You Should Know podcast guest is an actress who's been perfecting her craft since the 70s. She is a delight. She is a wonderful lady. Will you please welcome Elaine Ballace? Hi, sweetie. How you doing?
Hello. How are you, Rick? I'm so excited to finally be on your show. I am doing wonderfully. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Glad to have you on the show today. Now, the first question I like to ask is, at what point in your life did you decide you wanted to be an actress? I mean, were you just young and decided I wanted to be an actress, or was it a little bit later in life?
At birth.
At birth.
At birth, I decided I wanted to be an actress.
She came out and said, instead of her first words were, "Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up."
You were in the delivery room when I was born.
There you go. There you go.
I'll tell you something funny about that. There were two delivery rooms in the hospital I was born at, which is really no longer a hospital, but I was born at Queen of Angels Hospital in Los Angeles. And I did a show, which is interesting too, but it was called Flatbush Fungos. It was a pilot, and Adrian Smith was on it. And I ran into him after so many years, and I said, I don't expect you to remember me, but I just wanted to say that I did work with you. I enjoyed working with you, and congratulations on all your success. He could not have been nicer, and said, because that show didn't get picked up, he went on The Rookies.
Yeah.
And as I say, the rest is history. He had a great run on that series and whatnot. But on that show, the pilot, Flatbush Fungos, the director said, "Okay, Elaine, which room were you born in?" Because there were only two delivery rooms. Mm-hmm. And I don't know which one I was born in, but they did feel distinctly different.
There you go. Now, I have to ask you, the very first time you appeared on the set, what was it for? And what was your thoughts when you first appeared in the wonderful world of the stages and the screens?
I was already a polished pro, because at 3 years old, I was producing my own variety shows, according to my mother. I don't remember, but it does sound like something I would have done. And every time there was a family get-together, we always had to do a variety show, and everybody had to be in costumes. I'd run through the closets or whatever and just pick up anything and go, okay, we're doing this, or okay, we're doing that. And of course, my favorite was sketch comedy. At 3 or 4, I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing. It was probably better then. And so it was really funny because I've always done it. And I can't imagine, and I don't recall my life ever not wanting to perform. I just enjoyed it. And the first real professional job I believe I did was for One-A-Day Vitamins. Right. And I was only 8 years old, I think. And there was an agent at the ice skating rink, because I was a professional ice skater already.
Geez.
And she wanted me to be in this commercial. And so I didn't know going on interviews, what the game was or anything. So I just went in and did what I needed to do. And I got the commercial. So I'm on the set, and it was at an ice rink because they wanted a little girl who could skate. And my dad said, let her be professional, where we can kind of control it. And there were only two things you could have done, maybe television and, commercials and stuff like that, or join an ice show. And my dad didn't want my mom traveling with me on the road or anything like that. So he said, yeah, let her do commercials. And all I knew was it was so much fun, and I just loved it. And it was just like one of my variety shows.
I could picture you playing the role of like Carol Burnett and saying, "Okay, next Raggedy Andy, Raggedy Ann, Raggedy Andy, you guys have got a tour coming up. Tell us a little bit about your." I could just see you moderating this. I could totally see that.
It's funny. Before I started doing Camp Elaine or the Misadventures of Camp Elaine, I always wanted to do a Carol Burnett type show where you could do sketch comedy and you could have guests on your show and, do different things. But the only difference was I couldn't sing. Well, I always thought I could sing, but everybody I knew said, "You can't sing." And I go, "You just don't have the ears to hear."
Oh, there you go.
I had a lot of friends in the music industry and they kept saying, "Elaine, you have many talents. However, singing is not one of them." And I said, "Well, if you're that good of a producer, you could make me sound great." And that leads me to a story which is really fun.
Okay.
Because I was at a club and Suzanne DePass was there and Barry Gordy's brother, Fuller Gordy.
Okay.
And they were there checking out some of the talent at this club. And a friend of mine was singing who had a wonderful voice. And so anyway, I was talking to them. I had no idea who they were. And it's even better if you can't sing and they're really big. This was before Motown really got into producing, movies and TV and stuff like that. So I had no idea who they were. And we were talking and I said, what do you do? And they said, I actually knew the names, but I just pretended I didn't, and to see what they would say. And so they told me, we're with Motown Records and stuff. I said, I am a great singer. So Fuller Gordy just laughed hysterically. And I said, well, I think if, you could just send me to the soul department, figuring this was Motown, and they had all the greats, back in the day. So why not? So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll bring you in and record you. So I said, oh, that would be wonderful. So I got dressed and had this really cute outfit and this hat, and I was there. Well, the only problem is the only two songs I really know are Amazing Grace and Mercedes Benz. You couldn't be more diametrically opposed.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so anyway, we did Mercedes Benz first. And I said, well, wait, aren't we going down into the studio? He pulls out this little tape recorder. It's like, what's that? Aren't we going into the studio with the engineers and stuff? He goes, your voice is so pure, I wouldn't want anyone to try and steal your tones.
Oh, geez, nice, nice.
And so then I said, no, come on, let's go. I'm ready. And he just cracked up and he goes, if ever I'm depressed, I've got this tape right here in my desk. I'm just going to pull it out and I'll laugh. And apparently that's what he did for years.
Awesome.
I always thought I was great and I would get like straight A's in school. In music, I got a C or something because I showed up. But I didn't think it was fair to grade me on the tone of my voice.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that'll do something to a kid in school.
Well, here's one for you. Yeah, here's one for you. My wife and I met in 7th grade choir at the junior high school in Hobart, Indiana.
Well, see, your singing was okay. You've been married to her.
Couple of solos and everything like that. And I agree with you. Once I got on stage, I couldn't get off stage. It was just one of the things I became addicted to it. I've been wanting to be an announcer since I was probably 10 or 11. And luckily, I've been doing this for all my life. And very, very blessed with that. I haven't been asked to sing too much on the radio, but I have sung a lot for the All-Star Radio Network, doing character voices and such. I got to tell everyone about what's going on here. If you've got Amazon or Amazon Prime, one of Elaine's movies came out about a month ago. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Elaine, tell us about A Wonderful Life. And now, don't give away too much away. Tell us all about it.
Well, it's really a beautiful, beautiful movie. It's about two women that grew up together in the South somewhere, and they say back in the woods. And they grew up together and were best friends, and both got married, both had families, both had difficult marriages and got divorced and everything, but they remained friends throughout. And it's about their relationship. It's about the relationship of their two boys. Well, I had two sons. She had a son and a daughter. And it's about their relationship when they were growing up as kids. And it's just how relationships are. You know what I mean?
I
that
totally
they
agree.
grow up together, and the experiences and the life experiences that they shared and stuff like that, and what goes on in families, and just all kinds of things, like that. And it's just fun. And it's fun to tell the stories that that the children who are now grown didn't remember, about their grandparents or whomever.
Very good.
And just things that went on then that probably still go on there, but, now that they've moved out, they moved west, I moved west, my family did. And we just stayed in touch for years, and how, I bring my friend back. And that's all I'm going to say. They have to.
Good. Here's the assignment for all my listeners. For all my listeners, I want you to make sure that if you've got Amazon Prime, make sure you go ahead and look up A Wonderful Life, not It's a Wonderful Life, the Capra movie. This is A Wonderful Life, starring my dear friend Elaine Ballace. That's your assignment, and then I want you to report back to me in the morning. Okay.
Absolutely. And then if they hated it, we don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just leave 5 stars, okay?
Please leave 5 stars.
Now, you had another role as Fern on the BET series, The Rich and the Ruthless. Can you tell us about your role as Fern?
Well, that was a really, really fun, which will lead into another story. I have great stories.
There you go.
There.
Yeah, absolutely.
What happened was I was actually auditioning for another part, and I, to my shame, didn't really watch. I was on General Hospital and Days of Our Lives, which is another story, but I didn't really see The Young and the Restless. And this woman came over to me, this casting director, and she said, would you mind auditioning for us? And I said, well, I'm here for this part, but when I'm done, I would love to audition for you. So I walk into the room, and this woman, first of all, I'm technically challenged, and she hands me a laptop to read from. It's like, how do I even move this thing to find it? So that was sort of a disaster, and she gave me a second chance, but I thought, she is such a good actress. I've never read with a producer that was that good, that I didn't know, was an actor or an actress. So it was so funny. I still was blind to what was going on. And I guess sometimes your innocence, carries you through. So then I auditioned again, and I got the part. She called me the next day and hired me. And we did a read through. And then I think it was a couple of years or something, a year or two, maybe, I don't know. And then we finally did the show. She had rewritten it, recast it, and redid a lot of things with it. And we finally got to do the show. And it was like instant love with everybody. I mean, I have never been on a set where everybody just would show up every day the first season that we did it, because oh, I didn't know you were working today. Oh, I'm not. I'm just here hanging out, because everybody really did love the show and each other, So we really, and I stayed in touch with a lot of them, as many as I could, over the years. But Fern was, she kind of had a dual role. She was the secret, they were, not that they were having an affair, because you think of an affair as someone who's already attached,
Right,
it's a
exactly, yes.
affair. But neither was attached. It was just a secret affair from the set and the show, because it was a soap opera about the behind the scenes, and once in a while you'd see some of the soap opera, but it was mainly behind the scenes and the character. So I was secretly, the lover, whatever, with a friend of yours, Shadow Stevens.
Right, yes.
And so he was one of the stars of the soap opera. It was mainly a black soap opera, which is the whole meaning behind the show, The Rich and the Ruthless. And it's the only black soap opera on the air, that the show. And so anyway, it was great. And we just had so much fun. And then, of course, I was like always flirting with everybody. And like I was in love with my boss, but who wouldn't be, because it was Richard Brooks. And you probably saw him from LA Law or Law and Order. I always get those confused. I think it was Law and Order. Okay. And so anyway, and he was being Mary Jane. He's been in so much stuff. And so anyway, I had the best time. I mean, I got to work with Shadow, who's a real pro.
Right, yes. He's good at everything. That's just one of the things.
Wonderful.
For a while there, he was on everything, from doing the countdown shows to bringing in New Year's Eve to being on every commercial and guest spot on Hollywood Squares type thing. Yeah, he was everywhere. And
he was everywhere. And it's really funny how our lives kind of intertwine, because I did during COVID, they had Hollywood Museum Squares, and it was done by the people who did the Hollywood Squares. And Shadow was actually the announcer for it.
Yeah. He's got the voice for it, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, he's got a great voice. But anyway, the other one was Michael Collier, who was on the show. And he's from Chicago. And so a big comic, huge comic, and he had me be a guest on his show, and I said, oh, I would love it. And then he goes, okay, you'll go on this, and then the sports. I go, I used to do sports. I love sports. And so he said, all right, I'll let you on once, but, if it doesn't work out. And I go, don't worry, it'll work out. I promise you. And so now I'm a regular on the sports. And so anyway, it's really funny because they always call me the blonde lady on the show. So, and they go, and she really knows about sports. And it's like, they're all picking, everything. And so it's fun. That's great.
That's great.
Sports.
What we'll do is we'll put a link down in the show notes so everyone could check out Michael's podcast there and check out
Michael's show. They will love it. He's so funny. He's the kindest man, and he's so willing to help. It's like if a comic has a bad set, it's like, here, let me help you or give you some pointers.
Wonderful.
He's the best. I mean, I can't say enough wonderful things about Michael. And it's a wonderful show, and everyone's family. And because it's a podcast, people are all over the country.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you don't really meet them. And at Michael's wedding, Michael and Sonia's wedding, a lot of the people came in, and it was like, and it was so funny because a lot of them knew who I was from behind the scenes people, but I didn't know who they were. And I was like so embarrassed. It's like, I feel so badly about this, but wonderful. I mean, everybody on that show really is family, and he does call it's like, you're part of the family. He calls, everybody involved with it, and it really is family.
Is it every week that you appear on?
Well, I've been appearing definitely every Monday, and sometimes I'm on when there's some special games and stuff like that. So,
all right, very good. Down in the show notes, you'll have the link for that. Before we continue, I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Someone You Should Know podcast. We invite you to check us out on the web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. There you're going to find our recent episodes, our archive of past episodes, and a whole lot more. And by the way, if you've been enjoying the podcast, we invite you to leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Now, according to Buzzsprout, the service that sends our podcast to all the different platforms, since we started, we're very blessed to have reached nearly 1,900 cities in 85 countries around the world. A couple of cities we want to salute today include Meredith, New Hampshire, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, Luleå, Sweden, and also Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thanks for tuning in. You can hear the Someone You Should Know podcast wherever quality streaming audio is available.
Stay tuned. The Someone You Should Know podcast with Rick Anthony. We'll be right back after this short message.
Are you a business owner in need of a professional voice service? Well, look no further. Manzi Voice Services offers a wide variety of voice services and media production who will elevate your brand. Our team of experienced professionals will work closely with you to bring your vision to life, providing top-notch audio and video production. Whether you're looking for a voice for your commercial or a full-scale media production, Manzi Voice Services has got you covered. If you're looking for a professional voice, then look no further. Contact Manzi Voice Services via Facebook or email manzivoiceservices@gmail.com. We look forward to collaborating with you to facilitate your future needs.
You're listening to the Someone You Should Know podcast with your host and moderator, Rick Anthony. And now back to Rick with today's very special guest interview.
Thanks for listening. We're back to our interview here with Elaine Ballace. Now, you had the great honor of working with Mel Brooks, Elaine, and that is someone that I've always wanted to talk to, never had a chance to talk to you, but you've had some special moments with Mel. Could you kind of share some of those with us?
Well, Mel is probably my favorite person in the whole wide world. And unfortunately, when COVID hit, he kind of, and they all had to leave the studios and stuff. I think he enjoyed doing more stuff from his home because it was just easier and better and whatnot. So I haven't been able to speak with him as much as I used to when he would go to the studio and stuff like that, because I think when you're in your home, if you're doing a show or something, then it's one thing, if people are coming to interview you. But I think other than that, he's a very private person. And so there's not as much contact, which I miss terribly, because I just absolutely adore him. And I've learned so much from him, and working with him, he's, the greatest. And for a while, people used to say, because I did 4 movies with him, and I did Spaceballs, which was the first one. And I told him, I said, okay, this is it, Mel. I've known you long enough. Either you put me in the film or I'll just show up every day and eat the food. So I think he figured it was cheaper to put me in the movie. And so that was my first experience. And it was really fun because he said, now, Elaine, you don't talk about your skating. You're an actress here, And I said, okay, Mel. And I think Mel had seen me when I was like maybe 8 or 10, at a show at the Beverly Hilton for the Friars Club, because they used to have an ice surface at the Beverly Hilton. And I think he was there that night, and because he kind of knew me as a skater when I had mentioned it. Mm-hmm. He had seen me as an adult, though, and but he saw me as a skater as a child. And so he goes, now don't tell anybody about the skating. Okay. I walk into makeup. I don't say a word to anybody or anything. And they all knew everything about me. It was
Wonderful.
like, what is this? And then I'm on the set and I just, minded my P's and Q's and just did what I was told and everything. And it was great. And then there was a break and Mel starts telling everybody how great I am as a skater. And I go, Mel, I thought we weren't talking about the skating. He goes, you're not talking about it. I am. It's my set. I can do what I want. So that was great. So, he's just, you couldn't ask for a nicer person and a better person to have as a friend, and he'd always tell me, oh, Elaine, you're so funny. And I go, oh, Mel, these are all your words. I just kind of mix them up a little bit, but this was the best. And this is my favorite is, Mel wrote his book all about me, about him and not me, but all about himself. And so the book title is All About Me. So I had been telling him about my book that I was writing, and he didn't quite get it. You have to see the book to get the aha syndrome. And so anyway, he sends me his book. It's 550 pages.
Oh my.
My book is How to Write a Book Camp Elaine Style. And this was my former dog, Oreo. My soulmate, Amika's a mini me.
There you go. Very good.
And so there's a camera, she's there. She does, she's right here now on my lap. And so anyway, my book, as you can see, is like
a
50
little thinner.
pages.
Yeah, there you go. It's a quick
pages.
read. It's a quick read.
And so anyway, I sent him he sent me an autographed copy of his book. I sent him an autographed copy of my book. He calls me up and says, Elaine, you are crazy. He goes, but it was a brilliant idea, And so the fact that it got Mel Brooks' stamp of approval means the world to me. And you can get it on the book. I don't sell it on Amazon or anything. I sell it on my website, which is elaineballace.com. And the reason I do that is because I want to personally autograph each copy.
Oh, that's very sweet. Very sweet.
And so if you do it on Amazon, there's no direct relationship to the person who's purchasing the book. And if it's someone who is purchasing it for someone, it's autographed to the person who's getting it. And basically what it is, without giving it away totally, it's a book about a book. I do series about series, a book about a book. And basically what I'm trying to do is get people, any walk of life, to write his or her own story. So, in other words, you're going to leave your legacy. It doesn't even have to be the truth. It could be the legacy that you wanted people to remember you by. Because a lot of times seniors especially, they get to a certain age and they're all alone. And if they can sit and write the book, you're not at a computer. You actually have to take an implement, a pen, a pencil, a crayon, anything, and actually write. So there are blank pages, and I just guide you through it and cheer you on. So I really am your cheerleader. And I really want people to write their stories, because I think that oftentimes as well as you might think you know somebody, you really don't. And this way it's like, wow, I didn't know that. And it doesn't matter if it's not real. That was the life that person wanted.
This book here, I'm going to go ahead and put it down in the show notes so you can get a personally autographed copy from Elaine Ballace.
And when they purchase it, if they're in the continental U.S., then the shipping is included.
Awesome. Very good.
So they get everything. But see here, I'll just tell you the first one. It says, congratulations, you showed up. Now take out a pen, pencil, or even a crayon and start writing. And then here are the blank pages for you to write. And the last chapter, they have to buy the book to find out, in between. And unfortunately, this is a spoiler alert, but it says, congratulations, you did it. Or not. Hey, everybody needs and deserves a cheerleader. Thank you for choosing me, Camp Elaine. And this was my dog Oreo at the time.
Awesome. For anyone who is not familiar with Camp Elaine, explain the misadventures of Camp Elaine.
Okay, I absolutely love this show. And I really am, if anyone's out there listening, I'm really looking for a platform to put it on, to get it produced and done, because it's just really about kind of everything is my life. Just like things that happen in life that really, you have to see the humor in everything. And it's just fun. It started off Camp Elaine started off with sports. And it was something that I was producing a show, and this was during the height in the 90s of public access,
Right.
And so I was producing a show for somebody, and it just wasn't working out for him. And here he was, someone he was a minister and spoke in church and was fine. And you put him in front of a camera and he just froze.
Okay.
It was like he needed stage more than a camera, I guess. And so someone said, well, why don't you do the show? And I said, oh, well, I don't know. I'm not a preacher. So they go, well, what do you want to talk about? I go, sports, because having been a professional athlete, and I went to a private school, so they didn't have a football team there because it was Hollywood professional school. So it was mainly for people in the industry. So they weren't, not a lot of football players went there. So I went to SC because they had the best football program at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just always loved it. And I really look at football like life, because sometimes you run, sometimes you pass, sometimes you're intercepted, sometimes you fumble, sometimes it's third and long, and sometimes it's fourth and inches. You're ever so close. And I just find that that's the way life is. They're going to be stumbling blocks, and sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose, and I've always had a passion for it. So the best of both worlds is being on a podcast or being on a TV show and doing sports. So I got to interview a lot of people, but I also loved acting, and I was also still acting, and I was skating. And so I encompassed everything in the shows, during the whole height of public access. And then when public access went away, it was like, So then I just really kind of developed more sketch comedy and improv for the shows. I don't say it was purely improv, because to me, purely improv is just you're out there raw doing it. You have no idea. But sketch is more like, even though it wasn't written, you kind of have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you kind of know where you're going to start and where you're going to end. And the middle is kind of whatever happens, And so I would loosely base it on, a writing out a sketch, but basically just enacted them. And I've got so many great ideas, of shows that I still want to do and people I want to work with. And it's just a passion and something I think we can all use, because it's just laughter. There's no political statement. There's nothing pushing anybody. It's just fun at doing things that you love and enjoy, and what could go wrong. And it always goes wrong.
Now, Elaine, you talked about your website, ElaineBallace.com. Other social sites where people can contact you and learn a little bit more about what you got going on?
Absolutely. They can go to my website, and I have a lot of the older episodes of Camp Elaine on. And I also have, some of the podcasts I've done, so they can buy the book, and there's all kinds of stuff there. But they can go, of course, to IMDb, just the regular one. They don't have to go to Pro. Put in my name, and there are about 7 videos there. And there's also the reel for the misadventures of Camp Elaine.
I will include those in the show notes. Those will be down in the show notes, too. All you do is click on it. You'll get a chance to see this lovely lady. A Wonderful Life. It is on Amazon Prime. Your assignment is to watch that tonight, okay? And then after you're done with that...
And to follow me on Instagram at Elaine Ballace.
Very good.
And I'm on Facebook. They can follow me. I am on X, but I'm not there as often as I'm on Facebook and Instagram. So please follow me on both. So there's no excuse for people not to reach me or reach out to me or whatever. And if they're listening to this show, then they get an extra shout out.
Very good. Thank you so much. Elaine, it's been an absolute delight talking to you today. Once again, I want everyone to go to her website, ElaineBallace.com, and get a copy of her book, How to Write a Book Camp Elaine Style, okay? She'll autograph that for you, and you'll be able to be the highlight of all your friends and say, I got an autographed book in the mail today, did you? Elaine, have yourself a wonderful day, and thanks so much for being a guest on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
Thank you. It was so great. I had a wonderful time. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from your listeners.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for tuning in to this episode of the Someone You Should Know podcast. Before I go, I want to share some friends of mine who also have a podcast. Give them a listen, and I invite you to check us out next time right here on the Someone You Should Know podcast. All right, here's my friends right now from the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Hey, everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike
with the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast, coming to you from the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 in Joliet, Illinois.
Where once a week we are interviewing local musicians and singer-songwriters. And the podcast itself covers a wide range of topics, including, but not limited to, the history of rock and roll in Chicago, the current state of the scene, and the challenges and opportunities facing musicians today.
So join us every Tuesday for a new exciting episode of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.